Welcome back to Super Saturday here at Oulton Park. Next up, it's the SuperPro VAG Trophy. Now, this is such an accessible championship that even if you're not currently a racing driver, there is an option for you. We spoke to James Bradley Silverstone about his new project, Road to Race.
Yes, we're working on the project Road to Race at the moment, which is where we take two Seat Leon 2005 spec cars and turn them into fully fledged race cars. Well, the SuperPro is really about everyday people being able to get into motorsport and preparing cars, really. So it's a great championship to start off with, and it's a good base for us to start with. Lots of publicity, so we thought make a project out of it, get a lot of the sponsors involved. We do a lot with the road cars with JBS and Custom Code as well, so we feel it's something for our customers to follow and try and get some more competitors into the series.
So if there are guys out there watching that have an interest in racing, don't realise how accessible it is, what sort of figure are we talking about?
Well, it really depends on what kind of car you're going to build. The VAG Trophy has two classes, Class A and a Class B. If you were to build a Class B car, including entrance fees and preparing the car, running the car, probably somewhere between £5,000 and £6,000. For a Class A car, obviously the car's a little bit more expensive, the hardware's a little bit more expensive, so probably somewhere around £10,000.
That's incredible, so it really is an accessible thing to do.
Yeah, generally, I mean, other championships you can pay that kind of money just for the entrance fees for the year, so yeah, the SuperPro, the VAG SuperPro Trophy is a really, really good place to start if you want to get into motorsport.
Well, the drama started at Oulton Park before the racing started, with the championship leader Daniel Rose encountering problems during qualifying, which meant unfortunately the car was all loaded up on the flatbed trailer, ready for the long trip down the M6. What that meant was that when the racing got underway, we saw Paul Taylor jumping into an immediate advantage as the field charged through Old Hall for the first time of asking, where as ever it was very busy and frantic in the midfield. A little bit too frantic, as it turned out, for Andrew Barton, who was fired off into the Armco barriers, his race over very, very quickly. That prompted the safety car to come out, and when it came back in, the race was well and truly on between Paul Taylor and Chris Levitt. It was a battle that lasted all the way through to the checkered flag, with Taylor just able to hold off despite the efforts of Chris Levitt. So they came up to the line, they weren't quite side by side, they weren't far short of it, with Taylor snatching victory with just a couple of tenths a second and Andy Thompson completing the podium.
So here we are, race 2 of the SuperPro VAG Trophy. Now, race 1 winner up here on pole position is Paul Taylor, with Levitt and Carville close behind. It's going to be a fantastic race, as always. Over to you, Ben.
Thank you very much, Alexandra. Yeah, the enormous grid is ready for the off here, with the race 1 winner, Paul Taylor, then in pole position alongside him, the former truck racer Chris Levitt. So we take a look at the grid. So it is then Taylor and Levitt on the front row, Dave Carvell and Andy Thompson on row 2, with Len Simpson and Simon Thompson completing the top 6 as away they go. That's a super start from Taylor, who's got the jump in the Golf. Let's see if he's going to be able to take that through. He does, with in second place then Levitt. Third place is going to be very tight between Carvell and Thompson, with Dave Carvell just sneaking through into third position. There's Martin Walsh in the blue car. He is the foremost of the Class B runners in these early stages. They exit Old Hall, the two Beetles of James Bradley Silverstone and Martin Cully in the midfield, as already Taylor and Levitt trying to streak away from the rest of the field. That's going to be difficult because Carvell and Thompson are staying with them. Catching a brief glimpse there of Len Simpson, his sturdy Volkswagen Vento, always a fixture in the SuperPro VAG Trophy. So everybody cleanly through Island Bend and into Shell Oil's corner, trying to make up ground there. Martin Cully in the Beetle, and he's doing a fairly good job of that at the moment, trying around the outside of Joe McMillan as they went through Shell. Has he been able to make it stick? It's McMillan in the red Seat to the outside line, but jinking through at Britain's is Cully, so he snatches the place. His next task is to move ahead of Rob Allamers, the front of the field. It's getting very close. Levitt is really onto the tail of Taylor, but he won't help himself by leaping over the curbs quite like that. Dave Carvell in third position, then just slipping back ever so slightly. Simon Tomlinson also showing strongly as he chases down Andy Thompson. The leaders already into Druids. A little bit of daylight then between Carvell in third. The same from Carvell to Thompson in fourth position. There is Len Simpson in sixth, as he sets off him shoot. It's Tony Absalom then who completes top 7, and that leading 7 cars just pulling clear, but his battle for the lead is very, very close, and Chris Levitt really resuming exactly where he left off at the end of race one. He's right on the tail of Paul Taylor as they streak over Deer Leap, celebrating on towards Oulton. And is Levitt going to find a way through there? Well, not quite, but he's really asking the questions here of Paul Taylor, and Taylor is going to have to work very hard to hold on. There's battling going on throughout the field. There is Rob Allen in the South Ibiza. He's just ahead of Steve Rowland, and Rowland in turn being pressurised by Keith Davis in the number 19 car. And with the regulations being as open as they are in the Super Pro VAG Trophy, we do see cars from the Volkswagen and the group, which really are of all vintages, all shapes and sizes. Gives us some super racing. James Bradley Silverstone, who we're hearing from earlier on, picking his way up the order in the Volkswagen Beetles. The battle for the lead remains as close as it ever was, but it's still Taylor who's just got that advantage over Chris Levitt. But Levitt, with his years of experience racing trucks, I think is going to make this very, very difficult if Taylor wants to hold all the way through his checkered flag. In fact, Levitt tried to draw alongside as they accelerate up over Clay Hill, and is Levitt quite alongside. They're not as they left our view, and as they come into Druids, it's still just advantage Paul Taylor, with a good run through Druids could give Levitt the opportunity to challenge en route towards Lodge Corner. That is one of the traditional overtaking opportunities here at Oulton Park, and Taylor knows that he moves to cover the inside line already. Levitt bobbing and weaving behind him, but really nice defensive drive from Paul Taylor. He's making this very difficult for Chris to try and find a way past him, and then as he just slides slightly wide at Lodge, Levitt tries to roll alongside over Deer Leap. Has he been able to do it? We'll find out as they arrive into Oulton. I think he has. Could we see the switch for the lead here? It's Levitt to the inside line, and Chris Levitt goes through, snatches the lead away from Paul Taylor. And that was a move several corners in the making. He finally forced that mistake from Taylor as James Bradley Silverstone draws alongside Keith Davis into his ease. A pair of them up behind Tony Taylor. It's the Beetle Silverstone, though, who has made that move on Davis, but he just taps the tyres slightly. He spins around, oh no, and he makes contact with Keith Davis and rips away the front spoiler of the Beetle. And that was the tiniest of errors from James Bradley Silverstone. He just kissed the tyres on the exit of his. It pitched the car into the spin, and then unfortunately Keith Davis completely innocent in that. The leading duo of Levitt and Taylor, they've really got this to fight amongst themselves, as there's a tangle between Martin Cully and Joe McMillan. We didn't see how that started, but Cully in the Goblin racing car, I think, will maybe be thinking McMillan is the Grinch that stole his podium, because he opens the door and gets out of the car, stalks away. And McMillan thinks should be able to recover. It's Cully who had that Beetle unfortunately covered in grass, so Wojo flags that his ease, whilst the car of Bradley Silverstone is recovered to a place of safety. Another steaming Beetle, unfortunately, Martin Cully. Hopefully he's not coming into contact with anything too solid there, as the fight for third is really coming alive. Dave Carvell now coming under a lot of pressure from Andy Thompson, with Simon Tomlinson and Lem Simpson not too far back either. So these four cars all still very much in with the hunt of claiming a podium finish here at Oulton Park. Into the braking zone for Old Hall, and Thompson in his sturdy Seat Leon Cupra onto the tail of the Volkswagen Scirocco of Dave Carvell. Battles throughout the field. Paul Cowland and Mark Hodder having a nice battle. That is currently for 16th position. A pair of them both running in the Mark II Golf GTIs on towards Lodge Corner, and Paul Cowland, he's got the inside line, and that should be enough to keep Hodder back. And Cowland, if nothing else, that car is extremely well supported. A multitude of sponsor stickers on it as he climbs up over Deer Leap. There is unfortunately a somewhat battle-scarred machine of Keith Davis being put a lap down by the race leader Chris Levitt, and now that Levitt has moved ahead of Paul Taylor, he's been able to pull out a reasonably healthy advantage here. So Chris Levitt looking well set to claim victory in the Super Pro VAG Trophy here at Oulton Park. He tips through Lodge Corner for the final time, up over Deer Leap. The checkered flag is ready and waiting, and it's an emphatic victory for Chris Levitt as he takes the flag. Almost 8 seconds his advantage over Paul Taylor in second position, with Dave Carvell just completing the podium despite a lot of pressure there from Andy Thompson, with Tomlinson and Simpson still in very close quarters, and then Class B honours seeming set to go the way of Martin Walsh, who will just head Rob Allen by just under a couple of seconds over the line. So it's Walsh who wins Class B with Allen in second position. Super racing throughout the pack in the Super Pro VAG Trophy. So look at the final classification then with the win for Levitt, Paul Taylor in second, Dave Carvell completing the podium with Martin Walsh winning Class B, rounding out the top 10. So happy drivers once more atop the podium with smiles and champagne for Chris Levitt.
Yeah, it was really good. I think we knew from the first race if we could keep the tyres we'd be quicker. We learned as well where he was strong, so we could change the setup a bit, and it really worked. Coming down the straight, got in front, he was close for about half a lap, then just pulled the gap, and it was quite easy then.
We had a great start. Unfortunately the tyres went away and we didn't make a good tyre choice for the last race of the day. But in all fairness, we're pleased to have a first and second this weekend. I mean, Taylor Heaton car is absolutely on the money now, and we're really looking forward to coming out of Brands Hatch.
Yes, first time out this year. I've repaired the car since I had a crash in it at Brands End last year. So very rewarding. Didn't expect that at all.
In terms of the championship, Daniel Rose still holds on to the Class A lead from Paul Taylor and Joe McMillan, despite a difficult day for Joe in Class B. It's Tony Taylor who's got a very slender advantage over Martin Walsh and Rob Allen. And in the championship overall by 1 point, it's Tony Taylor who heads down Rose, and he's got just a point over Martin Walsh.
Well, that's it for the Lubricant Consultancy Mark II Golf GTI Championships and the Super Pro VAG Trophy. Join us again very soon for some more fantastic racing.